The laughter in the boardroom was not quiet, it was sharp, dismissive, the kind of laughter that pierces dignity. A young man in a worn, plain suit stood at the doorway, clutching his folder like a lifeline. He was the son of a laundry woman, the kind of boy many would overlook in a sea of polished applicants with wealthy surnames. He had been invited for a scholarship interview at one of the largest corporations in the city, a place ruled by a tycoon known as much for his brilliance as for his merciless mockery. Whispers rippled through the executives seated around the long table. One leaned toward another and sneered, "This won't take long. He doesn't belong here." The boy's heart pounded, but his mother's words echoed inside him, "Hold your head high. Respect is not given, it is shown." When the chairman asked him to introduce himself, the boy bowed slightly, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. "Good morning," he began, before his lips curved into a faint smile. "Or should I say, bonjour, guten tag, buongiorno, ni hao, konnichiwa, annyeonghaseyo, hola, salam, namaste." 9 greetings, spoken in 9 languages, each with flawless precision. The boardroom fell silent. Pens stopped moving. The laughter dissolved. Even the tycoon who had mocked him earlier blinked, stunned. The boy stood calmly, shoulders squared, eyes filled not with arrogance but humility. "I learned them," he continued softly, "while washing clothes in the back of my mother's shop, listening to customers who came from different parts of the world." Suddenly, the plain suit did not look so plain. Suddenly, this son of a laundry woman was no longer invisible. He was extraordinary. And as he paused, letting the weight of his words settle, the entire room leaned forward, waiting for what he would reveal next. The silence after his introduction was heavy, broken only by the faint hum of the air conditioner. The tycoon, a man who had built an empire and crushed egos along the way, leaned forward with narrowed eyes. 9 languages, you say?" he smirked, tapping his gold pen against the glass table. "Impressive trick, but tricks don't build businesses. Tell us, boy, what makes you think you belong here?" The young man inhaled deeply, remembering nights when his mother's hands were raw and blistered from scrubbing clothes. He steadied his voice. "Sir, language is not a trick. It is a bridge. While my mother worked, I listened. Every customer carried a story, a need, a barrier. I learned their words so I could serve them better, and so they would feel seen." His words, simple yet profound, carried weight. Some executives shifted uncomfortably, recalling times they had been overseas, struggling to be understood. The tycoon chuckled coldly. "So you're telling me washing shirts taught you the art of business?" The boy met his gaze without flinching. "No, sir," he said quietly. "Washing shirts taught me dignity. Learning languages taught me connection. And both taught me humility, which I believe is the soul of leadership." A hush fell again, this time deeper. One woman on the panel leaned forward, eyes glistening. "Can you give us an example?" she asked gently. The boy nodded. "A man once came in, furious, shouting in a language no one understood. I spoke to him in his tongue, calmed him, and he left smiling. He returned later with 10 more customers, saying, 'Here, people understand me.' That moment taught me that kindness, spoken in someone's own language, changes everything." For the first time, the tycoon did not laugh. His smirk faltered, replaced by something unfamiliar, respect. The tycoon leaned back in his leather chair, his gaze fixed on the boy as though seeing him for the first time. The boardroom, filled with polished shoes and designer suits, suddenly felt like a stage, and all eyes were waiting for the boy's next move. "Very well," the tycoon said, his voice low but edged with challenge. If you truly believe language is power, then prove it. He snapped his fingers, and an assistant wheeled in a screen. One by one, live calls connected, a French investor, a Japanese supplier, a German partner. Each spoke quickly, with accents heavy and impatience clear. The executives smirked, surely this poor boy would stumble. But the boy did not. With poise and humility, he answered each voice in their own tongue, his words flowing like water, not just translating but connecting. He didn't just speak, he listened, softened his tone, mirrored their respect. Soon, smiles appeared on the foreign faces. One investor even clapped, saying, "Enfin, quelqu'un que comprend." At that, the room grew still. The tycoon crossed his arms, struggling to hide his surprise. "So you memorized phrases," he muttered. But the boy shook his head. "No, sir. I don't just know words. I know their weight. My mother taught me that the smallest details, whether folding a shirt or choosing a word, tell people if you honor them." The words hung in the air. Even the harsh fluorescent lights couldn't dull the warmth spreading through the room. For the first time, the tycoon leaned forward, his laughter gone, his eyes softer. He asked a question no one expected, "And tell me, what would you do if this company were yours?" The boy hesitated, then whispered, "I'd build bridges, sir. Not walls." The room held its breath. The boy's words, simple yet profound, echoed against the polished walls of the boardroom. The tycoon, a man known for crushing competition with a single glance, leaned forward with a rare softness in his eyes. "Bridges, not walls," he repeated, almost to himself. One of the directors scoffed quietly, but the boy turned, meeting every gaze with a quiet strength born from hardship. "When my mother washed clothes for families who never remembered her name, she never complained. She told me, kindness is not weakness. It's an investment, even if the world pays late." I didn't understand then. But now, standing here, I do. People don't remember profits. They remember how you made them feel seen. A silence followed, thicker than glass. The tycoon's hand trembled slightly on the table. His laughter, his arrogance, gone. For the first time in years, he remembered being a barefoot boy himself, begging for coins on street corners. He had built his empire to escape that life, but in the process, he had buried the part of himself that once longed for bridges too. Finally, he rose, his voice softer than anyone had ever heard. "Son," he said, "I built walls to protect myself, but you just reminded me why I started. Not to build walls, but to open doors." The executives shifted, some even blinking away tears. In a single moment, the balance of the room had shifted. The poor boy wasn't small anymore. He stood taller than them all, not because of power, but because of truth. The tycoon extended his hand across the massive table. "You've given me more than translations. You've given me perspective. From this day forward, you're not just a guest here. You're family." Months later, the boy stood on a grand stage, dressed in a simple suit that still carried the humility of his roots. The auditorium glowed with golden light as hundreds of employees, leaders, and families watched in silence. At the front row, his mother sat nervously, her hands still calloused from years of laundry work, wiping her tears with the edge of her old scarf. The tycoon himself walked onto the stage, holding a framed certificate. His voice trembled as he spoke. "When I first met this young man, I laughed. I thought his worth could be measured in numbers. But today, I realize, his true wealth lies in the languages of humanity, kindness, respect, sacrifice, and hope. He paused, turning to the boy. And because of that, he is no longer just my translator. He is my partner. The room erupted into applause. The boy bowed his head, then looked at his mother, who could no longer contain her sobs. He stepped down, lifted her onto the stage, and whispered, "This is for you, Mama. Every word, every step, was because of you." The audience rose to their feet, clapping, crying, moved beyond words. In that moment, the son of a laundry woman proved that greatness isn't built on fortune, but on love, humility, and the courage to speak the languages that truly matter. Sparkles the full circle twist. The boy who once translated words now translated humanity itself, leaving an impact far greater than profit.